and Miami in the lead. White going long to Hill. Out of bounds at the 5-yard line. A great throw and a perfect catch.
Welcome into the Believe in the Cowboys podcast. I'm Paul Catalina alongside former Cowboys quarterback Danny White. Brought to you by Bet Online. Back and better than ever. All eyes on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, Bet Online is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new and updated site interface, even more odds, props, and contests, Bet Online continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website for your mobile device to sign up today to receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE on your first bonus. From football, basketball, boxing to your favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Danny, the Cowboys are on a roll right now, and seemingly, I mean, granted, I know that the opponents are not the tip-top ones that they're going to face, and they've got some really good ones down the line, like the Chiefs are coming up in a few weeks, and the division I know isn't what it is, but this is a team that is hitting on all cylinders and putting distance between opponents. I know that the Giants got completely beat up, but that was an impressive second half that they put on Sunday.
Yeah, they're playing well and playing very complementary offense, defense, special teams, kind of motivating each other, and turnovers is a big deal right now, and that's of course led by Trayvon Diggs, and what a great year he's having. So the Cowboys right now and the football gods are smiling on the Cowboys because they're just kind of getting the breaks. Injuries have not played a big part. Even though they've lost 3 defensive tackles, 3 defensive ends, these young guys have come through. I mean, when you look at the defensive starting lineup for the Cowboys right now and compare it to 2 years ago, Basham, Odigizua, Watkins, Gregory's the one, Parsons, Neal, Vander Esch, Brown, Lewis, Diggs, Wilson, and Casey. Vander Esch and Gregory, other than that, 2 years ago, we never heard of these guys.
Yeah.
And so it's a credit to them and the coaching that this Cowboys defense is playing so well right now. And again, the football gods, the schedule is being kind to them, playing a team in the New England Patriots that are still growing. Their quarterback is young, getting better, but he's not there yet. So this should be a game that the Cowboys should go in as long as they don't beat themselves. Big if. Should be able to take care of business.
Yeah, I think the X factor this week, Danny, is Bill Belichick, in that he can kind of almost trick you into beating yourself many times. If you see that game, of course, the rain with Tampa was the great equalizer with the Bucks and the Patriots. There were so many emotions in that. But when he was talking about the Cowboys this week, maybe the longest answer Bill Belichick has given about anything in his life, he specifically mentioned Dalton Schultz. And it makes me think that Dalton Schultz is going to be that thing that he takes away from the Cowboys, or tries to. Because if you talk to ex-Patriots players, and I've talked to a few over the years, one of the things they say is he comes in and there's always one thing he points out that maybe you would never notice as a player. And Dalton Schultz, the tight end, is kind of been the bailout guy on third downs. And so he'll say, look, on third downs, we're just going to cover the heck out of Dalton Schultz. And if Dak Prescott's safety valve is gone, then he'll freak out. And they've all said more often than not, that one little thing works and changes the game. So those are the things I wonder about Bill Belichick and what he's going to try to do. But ultimately, I don't think the Patriots have the roster to match the Cowboys right now.
Well, no, they don't. And let him take away Dalton. And you're right. Dalton Schultz has become Dak's go-to guy. He's got a lot of confidence in him. Obviously, Schultz makes great plays, catching the ball, running with the ball after he catches it. But go ahead and take Dalton Schultz away, because right next to him we have Dak Prescott's other go-to guy from a couple of years ago, and that's Blake Jarwin. Mm-hmm. So Cowboys are pretty loaded, and they're playing unselfish football right now. Now, I say that, but I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in these guys' heads. but guys like Ezekiel Elliott that understands that the more Tony Pollard plays and is successful, the better the team's going to be, and the more that the teams can't load up against one or the other, and the better that CD Lamb plays, the better the team plays, and that's Amari Cooper not being picky. The Cowboys have 3 receivers in the top 40 in the league, but they have no receivers in the top 20. So they're all between 20 and 40. Those three guys, Cooper, Lamb, and Schultz, are, in terms of receptions, they're 37th and 27th and 30th in the league. You talk about balance, man. That's pretty good balance. And then the two running backs, Pollard's leading the league in yards per rush, and of course Zeke's running for 130 yards a game right now. So offensively, the Cowboys are going to be hard to stop. Belichick can stop one guy, but he can't stop 3 or 4 or 5. Somebody's going to be open, and I think Dak is far enough along to know where the double teams are coming, go to the guys that are single covered, and that's where a veteran quarterback comes into play, and Dak will do that.
Yeah. I think on the receivers end, I think where that attitude of being unselfish comes from, it starts with the guy who's your number one guy, and it's Amari Cooper. He is the least selfish player on planet Earth. He is, and he's not boisterous or bright. He is kind of the opposite of the Devo Terrell Owens wide receiver. He's, all right, I'm going to be open, but you're going to throw it to who you need to throw it to. But I'm going to do my job, and everybody else is going to do theirs. That's Amari Cooper's attitude. Plus, he is such a deep thinker, and I think he enjoys chess in real life. Is his favorite thing to do off the field, but he enjoys the chess game of football as well. So if that means I've got to go over here and CeeDee Lamb is open, or Dalton Schultz, or it's Tony Pollard out of the backfield, he doesn't care. He's enjoying that whole process.
Well, and it helps to have $60 million in the bank.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Guaranteed, whether he leads the league in receiving or catches 6 passes a game or not, he's set for life financially, so he doesn't have that pressure of having to get all those bonuses. So that helps. But, and the counter to that, the opposite of that, is the defense and all these young guys that are out to prove something. Mm-hmm. They're looking for that big contract, and all these guys are Keanu Neal is just playing lights out. Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, of course, Diggs, Jabril Cox, Bohanna, Anai, Urban. These guys are all motivated to get the money. They don't have it yet, and they're young guys. And I've always said, if I was going to build a team, I'd have at least half of them be free agents that I signed off the street that are out to prove something, that have a chip on their shoulder or want to get the big contract, whatever it is. They're motivated, and that's what the Cowboys have right now. A nice blend of the veteran players that have the contracts and the young players, mostly young players right now.
Actually, I think that's part of the reason the Texans aren't as god-awful bad as you would think they would be, because they have a ton of guys on one-year deals that it's either try to prove that this is not your last stop or try to get that next deal. And, yeah, they're bad, but they have other overarching problems with the Texans, but they haven't been Jaguars bad this year. And I think that part of it feeds into it, because a lot of these guys know they're not going to be in Houston next year, but they want to be able to have a tape that says, hey, here, like, this is what I did for a really bad team. I can help you. Just imagine if I was with good players.
I don't know how I would do. I would think I would play as hard as I could play, no matter who the owner is or what the circumstances are in the front office. But there's a lot of guys in Houston that are not very motivated right now. But, I mean, as you said, they're young players on one-year contracts. Those guys are just playing for that reason alone. But it would be hard. I mean, I fortunately only played for the Cowboys, and we, of course, always had great leadership until the very end and in the front office. And that's kind of where it fell apart. But other than that, the Houston Texans don't, they don't have a quarterback that's experienced. They got one that's playing hard and getting better, but they got a ways to go there. But anyway, the Cowboys, after the Giants game, again, no bad injuries. Nobody's missing practice, not going to miss any games. So that's a huge X factor. And when you talk about the football gods, injuries are a big, big, big deal. And so the Cowboys have got those guys in there. And now Odigizua is just he has hit the quarterback 7 times this year. And last year there was not a defensive tackle on that team that did it more than 4 times in the entire season.
Yeah.
So there's a guy, a perfect example of a young guy that's just out to prove that he belongs in the National Football League, and I think he's already done that.
Something occurs to me as you brought up the guys with something to prove. One of the things is you want to have the strike that balance of your players being comfortable and happy and motivated and they feel respected by the front office and the coaching staff. The Cowboys have always had, really, Jerry Jones doesn't have many disgruntled players most of the time. They don't lose people that they don't want to lose. I can't think of a free agent that they've lost that they've genuinely wanted to keep. But the other side of that coin is maybe it got a little too comfortable the last 20 years or so with the Cowboys, where they were making people a little more comfortable than they should have been and not motivating them properly. And now they've got a lot of guys, out for blood, out for something to do for the next thing, and you're starting to see, as you said, the motivation and the results of that.
Yeah, I've said that for years now, that the Cowboys are pampered, and Jerry Jones, there's no question, he's the number one players owner in the league in terms of taking care of his guys. And they are his boys, and he takes care of them, maybe to a fault. I remember when we practiced in that little facility on Forest Lane in North Dallas, and it was nothing but one football field surrounded by a metal fence and an outdoor weight room, if you will. Wasn't even a room, and the locker room. That was it. And then we moved to Valley Ranch, which was the state-of-the-art practice facility in the league. And our record on the field went straight downhill. We just were pampered and babied, and had all the security and the great big giant hot tub and the cold tub and the real nice locker room. It was great, and nothing compared to the Star. Now they've moved to the Star, and I think there's something to that. I really do. Football is a violent, physical game, and you need to go into a game ready to play that kind of football. And if you're pampered and you can get soft and not even know it, I think that's an issue, and it has been in the past with the Cowboys. Now they got enough guys in there that are overcoming that right now, and that's a good thing.
I remember the first time I went into Valley Ranch thinking like, oh, this is a really cool building. This is nice. I bet you the players like this. And then when I went to the Star, I was like, oh my gosh, how did they make that really cool building look like a dump? It did. Like, the Star was ridiculous and opulent, and they have their own they had a cafeteria at Valley Ranch, but the cafeteria they have at the Star. You guys didn't have a cafeteria off Forest Lane, did you?
No. Oh my God, we had the grocery store across the street. That was our. That's where we went for lunch. Went to the. I don't remember what it was. A Kroger,
probably a Kroger
or something that we went into the buffet line and got our lunch, or right next door to the Pizza Hut, one or the other.
Yeah, that's probably because Gil Brandt had some say in that. That guy was a negotiator. He wasn't giving anything there. I've heard many stories from Gil about how he negotiated, free boots as a signing bonus or whatever. So I'm sure Gil had something to do with that.
All kinds of deals Gil would put in those contracts.
But Danny, to the Patriots this week, specifically on them, they've got a young quarterback who I think is going to be very, very good. He comes out of he goes from Saban to Belichick, which that move right there has got to be, pretty smooth in transitions of intense coaches who ask a lot from you, and there's not much of a jump, I would think, as far as the intensity of the two guys and their attention to detail. So it's probably why he's been able to start so quickly, because Saban and Belichick, they're friends. They coached together back with the Browns in the day. They do things very similarly, but he is still a rookie quarterback, and the Cowboys, have had success against guys. They had success against Daniel Jones until he went out last week of kind of forcing him into some things, and then they've been good at forcing mistakes, and that's what rookie quarterbacks do. This kind of lines up for them defensively, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. And that's a great comparison, though. The Giants to the Patriots. The Giants don't have anywhere near the structure, the discipline that the Patriots do, and it's because of Bill Belichick. So from that standpoint, Mac Jones is used to being in that kind of an environment, very strict. That's a difference. I mean, I can remember scrimmaging the Oakland Raiders when we were out in Thousand Oaks, California, and you had a fine in our system. If your helmet touched the ground in practice, it was a $25 fine. The Raiders sat on their helmets, so that's the difference in the systems. And you can get comfortable doing things one way or the other, and it's the people around you. So Mac Jones has got people around him. I'm talking about the players in the locker room that are playing for Bill Belichick. They better be on their P's and Q's and getting things done right and in a very structured, disciplined way, or they're going to know about it from Bill Belichick, and they won't be there long. That's just the way Bill operates. So there's something to that, talking about his comfort level. But Mac Jones, I tell you, his rating, 86.4, that ain't bad for a rookie. 25th in the league, but that still ain't bad. I mean, he's fourth in completions, ninth in attempts, fifth in completing over 70% of his passes, 20th in yards. So 5 interceptions, 5 touchdowns. That ratio's got to get better, but it will with him as being a young quarterback. And the Cowboys just have to hope he doesn't grow up too fast, like in the next 2-3 days. Yeah,
absolutely. That's for sure. With Bill Belichick, do you see, because you played for Tom Landry, he is often complimented the way the Cowboys dynasty built it as the way that he structured. One of the things he thought about was Tom Landry and the way that they built things in the way you guys played. Do you see similarities? Because he's not a yeller like Tom Landry wasn't a yeller. He's pretty stoic. I think they're probably a little bit different personality-wise. But do you see similarities in the way that Landry ran things as to where Belichick runs things?
Well, stoic. Stoic is the word that comes to mind when you talk about those two guys. In 13 years of playing for Tom Landry, I never heard him raise his voice, not once. So that tells you a little bit. And I don't see Bill Belichick yelling and screaming unless it's at the officials. He doesn't do it at his players. He just what they have is money. That's what does it. That's what Landry used to do. He wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't get mad at you. He'd just fine you. Or get somebody else to do your job if it happened enough and it became a distraction. I can remember Hollywood Henderson. He had Hollywood in a couple of times and talked to him, and Hollywood was kind of playing to his own beat and doing his own thing, and that wasn't necessarily the Cowboys' way of doing things. But he changed, and he became a very, very good football player and a very impactful football player for us because of Coach Landry and because Coach Landry gave him that structure, which he had not had in his entire life. I think Belichick and Landry are definitely cut from the same mold, same kind of personality, not your favorite banquet speaker or press conference guy, to answer questions. They're just very to the point, and I always appreciated that with Coach Landry.
Well, one of the other things is the Patriots have been really good at hitting on guys who are not first-round picks over their dynasty, which you guys were as well. I mean, list all the guys off who weren't first-round draft picks or top guys. I mean, they've got people in the Hall of Fame like Rayfield Wright and Drew Pearson and Cliff Harris.
Cliff Harris, guys that weren't even drafted at all.
Yeah.
And even Roger, they took a flyer on him because he had to go into the Navy, and so he was a last round draft pick. But yeah, there's a bunch of guys, Bill Bates, that come to mind that became impactful players that were not drafted or were drafted in later rounds, and that's just a credit. It's kind of like what they're doing right now with the free agents and the guys that are either drafted in later rounds or are undrafted. They're finding some guys that can contribute, and that's right now. That's a difference in the Cowboys and a lot of the teams in the league.
Well, and look, the Cowboys' best periods, whether it's the 70s, the 90s, or what they're doing this year, have been when guys perform above their – I mean, even Tony Romo. Like, Tony Romo was undrafted free agent, wound up being the leading passer in franchise history. But even in the dynasty times, look, Jimmy Johnson built that with a bunch of draft picks. It wasn't all the first rounders that hit. It was guys like Mark Tuinei. And I mean, the offensive line was Mark Tuinei, Nate Newton, Eric Williams. None of those guys were first round picks. Mark Stepnoski, not a first round pick. Plan B free agency and all that. It wasn't built from stars. It was built from, let's find guys who could be stars or could hit maximum potential. And that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're getting guys from other teams that couldn't do it with other teams. Jaron Kearse comes to mind.
Yeah,
guy that's just lighting it up right now. From was an undrafted free agent, and so they're doing it with low draft pick. Casey was an undrafted free agent. They're bringing a lot of guys in. There's 4 or 5 guys on defense that are playing a lot that were not drafted. So they're just picking up, doing things the way the Cowboys have always done it and having success with it. And right now, the Cowboys their schedule is favoring them. But remember, they've still got to go to New York. They got to go to Washington. They got to go to Philadelphia and play those 3 games. And 2 of those they've already played here in Dallas. So they've got some tough games ahead, and they got to just take them one at a time. We get through this one, and then a bye week, get everybody well, maybe get a couple of guys back. Again, the timing of the whole injury situation might be in the Cowboys' favor right now.
Well, I mean, after the bye week, you could probably potentially see Michael Gallup, and you'll see Lyle Collins back, although he might feel a little bit neglected in that they haven't really missed him that much. I mean,
no.
Terrence Steele's been fantastic.
No. Lyle who?
Yeah.
Well, he might be the Wally Pipp of the Dallas Cowboys this year, and that whole story. And so Cowboys are doing fine without him. And there's nobody, what that does is guys get healthy real quick. I've seen it. They're in the training room. They're, taking it all of a sudden. I'm well, I can play. I'm ready to go, or whatever the reason may be with Lyle Collins, it's his suspension, but that makes guys want to get back.
That's why you sue
when their backup is playing better than they were.
I remember a friend of mine called me up and goes, "Hey, why is Lyle Collins suing?" I was like, "Look, he's probably not going to win the appeal. He wants his money from the 5 games they took away. Plus, the guy behind him is tearing it up. I mean, he wants to get back out there. Yeah, I mean the NFL is not for long. I mean, that's the old joke. I mean, it doesn't take long for somebody to, especially in the salary cap era, of like, well, if we can get by with this, thanks for your contributions.
You talk about sense of urgency being created. Nothing creates a sense of urgency more than your backup playing better than you were playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Danny, thanks a lot. Enjoy New England this week. I hope the weather is lovely in fall and autumnal for you. So,
I hope it's early enough that we don't get any of that weather up there, because it can be brutal. I just kind of got my fingers crossed. This time of year, you kind of never know. But it's a tough place to get to because the Cowboys stay in Providence. They, of course, so you have to fly into Boston, drive to Providence, go back to the game, go back to Providence, go back to Boston to fly out. It's a little bit of a hassle in terms of traveling in there. But a win will make all the difference in the world, make it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely will. This is the Believe in the Cowboys podcast presented by Bet Online. Go to Bet Online, use promo code BELIEVE. I'm Paul Catalina alongside former Cowboys quarterback Danny White. Please like and subscribe this and wherever you get your podcast and this video on YouTube. We appreciate you listening or watching whenever you do. Have a great football weekend, everybody.